So I think this is an interesting chart to look at, and it is the uh, technology adoption curve of major technology innovations in the last century. And so if you look at the automobile, um, landline, tablets, cell phones, radio, um, electricity, smartphones, the internet, and social media, you see that it does take quite a while for the technologies to be adopted and accepted by the majority of society. And so, if you look at the curves, essentially it takes an average of about 10 to 11 years for the majority of the population to catch on and start using a certain technology. So if you look at the blue bolded line, which is the weighted mean, it takes roughly 11 years to get to about 60% adoption rate of the society using the certain technology. The longest one is the landline, which is the dotted green, and that took a while to be adopted. If you take a look, essentially, it took roughly 50 years to get to a 60% adoption rate, which is very long. The quickest one was the smartphone, and that was of recent years. And that's most likely because it's such a powerful tool and people are connected already by the internet. And so they wanted to have the internet at their disposable, at their fingertips, basically. And so if you take a look at the brown dotted line, it is roughly since 2008, Apple was first, invented the iPhone. And so it took roughly now, we're about 14 years into this, and we have almost a full penetration of the market and adoption uh, curve and rate. So we reached not close to 100%. It's high 90s, and it was really quick. Basically, to get to 80%, um, it was about 7 years to get there. So it was really fast. But if you look at other ones such as, you know, the cell phone, it took a little bit longer to get adopted. If you take a look, it took roughly 15 years or so to get to about 80%. And, take a look at um, the internet that is in uh, the blue dotted lines. And essentially that took roughly um, about 15 years to get to 60% adoption rate. So I think these are all interesting things to look at because even if the technology is amazing and it can shape and change people's lives, it takes a while, um, you know, usually about 10, 11 years to get to a 60% adoption rate. And that seems like quite a while, and then to get to a full penetration, of over 90% of the market and society adopting it, it takes, even longer than that. Um, so, you look at the mean to get to about 90% penetration takes about 40 years to get there, so this is why new technologies such as, as mentioned here, the internet, smartphone, tablets, and even Bitcoin, they do take quite some time. So looking back, at Bitcoin's history, starting in 2009, we're about 13 years into it at this point. And, the penetration is still on the smaller side, which is why uh, the potential for a scarce digital asset to be adopted over time as people become educated about what money is and how it should be, overall, there is a great potential for the increase in the users, and therefore people would probably start to buy and hold more Bitcoin, and the price would essentially trend upwards over time. And so that's basically the major thesis behind Bitcoin and its value is that it's a new kind of adoption, new technology, and it takes a while for technology to be adopted. And the truth is, it's a good technology, and being decentralized, meaning having no central authority control the supply of the issuance of Bitcoin, and it's all programmed algorithmically, uh, and it's scarce in a digital way. And so people might say, hey, this is just nothing. You're buying, it's just digital. You're just looking at it. But at the end of the day, you look at fiat currency, the U.S. dollar. It's all essentially digital at this point, right? Granted, we do have physical notes that are created as well, but at this point we're essentially going all digital, and they're creating a CBDC in most governments, and they're trying to create that. And so as we go digital, right, it's a form of money, it's a medium of exchange, and for it to hold its value, it needs more acceptance and adoption, just like the US dollar has. And so I think there's a lot of potential for a new technology and a new currency slash sort of value slash gold narrative to do well. And it's just going to take a lot of time, just as all these other technologies did as well. And if you look at other charts, basically showing the Bitcoin adoption curve and rates, I mean, we are so early. Essentially, we have 0.36% of the global population are users of the Bitcoin monetary network at this point. And so if you look at the curve closer, started 2009, and we are here in 2022, 0.36. And the curve, it does go up over time, quite at a rapid rate. So if you look at basically, a longer term picture and project it further into the future, we are here, 2022, and well, here's the prediction based on the adoption curves that I was showing you before. And if we have the mean adoption rate and curve, then by 2032 we should reach a share of in the population 20% population using Bitcoin. And over time, 20 years from now, in 2042, we should reach roughly 60% of the global population. But again, it's not guaranteed, of course, and these are just forecasts and estimations based on other technology adoption curves. So if we do continue at this kind of rate and other technologies that were adopted, the price of Bitcoin will go up dramatically if people understand what money is and flock to it as a safe haven. And so the volatility, in my point, this stage is a result of a lot of leverage in the system and speculation. And so people are borrowing tons of money. Hedge funds are trading large amounts to try and make a lot of money. And so the price gets overheated in the short run, and it causes a cascade of liquidations to occur in uncertain times, when the stock market basically, doesn't do well. It's correlated to the NASDAQ and to fears of rates rising and a stronger currency of the US dollar. Wall Street gets afraid and they start to sell off a tremendous amount of their holdings, and it causes a tremendous amount of short-term volatility, but if you look at a longer term, chart of Bitcoin, we can pull it up quickly, but the price does tend to trend up over time. And if you take a look at the chart for a year, we're obviously down. It could amount from the 69,000 level that we reached last year in 2021, and we're down to about 21,000 now. It's very volatile, close to 70% downswing. But if you look at the 5-year time range, we are still up. And if you look at max, we're obviously up a tremendous amount from where it started. And, it's just a tremendous amount of ups and downs. In 2017, we saw a huge, euphoria upswing as people got more into it and were aware of technology. And then it crashed again as people were unsure of the whole regulation issue, of so many uncertainties, of stories coming out. And it crashed all the way to a few thousand, under 4,000. And then we started going up again, 2019, to about 10,000. And then we started to, basically hover, around 10,000 for a while until July of 2020. The COVID crash happened, in March. And then people started to invest a lot their stimulus money, and there's a lot of excess liquidity in the system, and people invested in tech, which, Bitcoin is considered tech in a lot of people's eyes, especially Wall Street. And it went up a tremendous amount from the 10,000 roughly level to 60,000, dropped all the way down again to roughly 34,000 in the summer of last year. And then it popped up about October 2021, all the way to 60,000 again, and then tanked all the way down to, where it is now, about the $21,000 level. And but if you look at the history, Bitcoin does trend up over time, and I can give you an exact percentage gain that Bitcoin did. So yeah, over 5 years, you see that Bitcoin is up over 722%. Over the course of the entire lifetime of Bitcoin, we're up over 6,000%, which is a tremendous amount. It does come with a lot of volatility, as you can see, and we are down in 1 year 33%. So if those people got in last year, you're most likely underwater with your investments. Year to date, last about 6 months has not looked good at all, down 55%, but it is seemingly trending up a little bit in the last shows.